We'll go ahead and get started here. I see a few people coming on, but we'll keep going. We have a lot of content to cover over the next hour. John is really busy at work making the education programming happening here, so we're really excited to talk about it. If you haven't joined us for one of the Power of the Pillar programs before, my name's Hannah Brainerd. I'm Lakeside's marketing project manager, so I get to do a lot to help promote some of these amazing programs that this team's working on. So this is oh my gosh, my 7th summer working at Lakeside, my 3rd year full time. I grew up coming to Lakeside with my family. I'm a 5th generation Lakesider, and my great grandparents met in Lakeside in the late 1800s. So it's a place that's so close to my heart. I love to talk about it, and I'm so excited that you're all here joining us this afternoon to talk a little bit more about some of this awesome programming. A couple housekeeping items. If you could keep yourself on mute for most of the program, just to make sure we can hear everybody okay. We'd really appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments or thoughts that come up throughout the program, drop them in the chat and I'll try and keep a lookout to see what's going there. I'm excited to introduce our special guest today, John Mann, our Director of Education. I don't want to steal his thunder, but this is his 10th year at Lakeside, I think. So he's just been such an asset and such a joy to work with. John is our Director of Education, but he's also our trivia master. He also is a wooden boater. He's a man of many talents. He rock hunts, I think, too. So lots of things to talk with John about. Every time I have a conversation with him, I learn so much more about the world. So he's such a blessing to Lakeside and a blessing in my life. So I'm really excited that I get to chat with him a little this afternoon. So without further ado, John, I'll hand it over to you. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your background, your Lakeside story, what got you here?
Sure thing. And in fact, Hannah, you're doing such a great job. I'll just let you run with the whole program. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for the introduction. So how did I get here? So this is my 10th summer season with Lakeside, and for some of them that may sound kind of surprising, like I've never heard of this person, but for 7 years I was Lakeside's human resources administrator and then manager, and so I was always behind the scenes. If you never came up to the second floor administration, you probably never saw me, but the role became available in December of 2020. And at first I was like, how in the world am I going to fill this position? Because the pillar directors are a little bit harder of a position to fill than some others. There's some have a little bit more, I don't want to come off as patting myself on the back, but they're a little bit harder to fill. And all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute, I want this position. And I put in for it, and I was fortunate enough to get it. And my background is in education. When I graduated from high school back in '98, my goal was to be a social studies teacher from like grade 7 through senior year. And when I graduated from college from UT, my alma mater, unfortunately, if you remember back in '04, the economy wasn't all that good, and schools were actually laying off teachers, and then teachers who were veterans who had thought about retiring, well, they lost some of their money in investments, so they weren't retiring. So I subbed for about 3 or 4 years, and I was with Sears and Roebuck for what it was total 13 years. But I was with Sears, working there, and also substitute teaching, and I worked into their human resource department, and that's where I learned the joys of human resources. And I do say that joy because it was a really good position. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Even though I wasn't teaching it, I thought that door in my life, it was closed and I would never take it up again. And if you know anything about Sears and Roebuck, of course, they're part of history. So And in 2014, I was looking for work, and there was this little classified ad that said that HR administrator needed Lakeside, Chautauqua. And I had never been to Lakeside. When I was growing up, my parents, for whatever reason, and I can't ask them, but it was when we were going to like the ferry dock in Marblehead, to see the sign Lakes Chautauqua on the lake. I'm like, what's that place? And my parents were always like, well, we can't go there, John. And so I had this perception in my mind, and I don't know why my parents said we can't go there or here. But we didn't. In fact, we were boaters and we never even got close to the lakeside dock. We always stayed away. So this classified ad was in. I was like, you know what? I need some practice for interviewing. I'll interview, see where it takes me. And evidently, I must have said something right, because Tom Derby and Sylvia Chappell, they saw something in me and they hired me. Either that or they were very desperate. So one or the other, but they hired me, and it was really an amazing place. I really have no idea why my parents all those years ago had said we can't go here, because it is really an amazing place, Lakeside. And frankly, it is the best place that I've worked at. And I've worked at a number of places, from working in a factory at a bearing manufacturer to working on flat roofs to change, so believe me, this is the best job in Lakeside. So that's a little bit on how I got here to Lakeside. Every year I've been in this role, I've been trying to build on for myself and the education pillar. The education directors in the past had done wonderful things. Gretchen Curtis really built it up back, oh goodness, probably 15 years ago. And then Jean Mariocourt, she was with us for maybe 12 years, and she really did a wonderful job. And 2020 would have been a great year for Dakota. But unfortunately, we all know that that COVID happened, and she was really hamstrung on what she could do. And then that here I am. So each year now it's kind of building the pillar back to where it had been in like 2019. So I'm very happy to be here. I'm very honored to have this role. And I understand it. It's an important role. It's one of the pillars. The 4 pillars is the core of Chautauqua. And without that core, without the pillars, Lakeside is, essentially it's another seaside town, which there's nothing wrong with, but this is what makes us unique, I think, in my mind. So, but I fear I'm starting to ramble, so you may want to get me back on track, Hannah.
Well, I'm just going to say that I'm glad that Tom and Sylvia were desperate a couple years ago. I think it turned out well. In all seriousness, Don, you're such a gift to Lakeside. And I think so many people on the call have seen your work and would say the same thing. So we're so grateful for you. I also see Gretchen's on the call. So if you want to give a little wave, thank you for all that you've done for Lakeside and education at Lakeside too. John, you said something important about the history of education at Lakeside. It's so pivotal to our mission, the education pillar. And I was wondering if you might be able to tell us a little bit more about the history and the importance.
Sure. Well, as you know, Lakeside for itself, began in 1873. It was a Methodist camp meeting ground. That's how it started. But if you look on more the larger picture, just to the east, you had in 1874, the next year, you had John Vincent and Lewis Miller. And those 2 individuals, they had an idea of a religious camp meeting institution and education, and with the idea of educating Sunday school teachers. And so this began in Chautauqua, New York, hence the Chautauqua Institution that we now know of. And so it really began as a nationwide interest in education. Within a few years, the scope of the Chautauqua Institution, really broadened out and included adult education, correspondence course, the Chautauqua Literary and Scientific Circle, which exists to this day here at Lakeside. They meet, oh goodness, maybe 6 times during the summer. So it's still something that exists to this day. And the idea of that the institution also had is a college outlook. So you could through the institute earn essentially a high school diploma. It was like the GED of what it would be nowadays. You would reach out to the institution, they would send you pretty much a catalog of different books. You would read the books, and then after a period of time, you would graduate to different levels, different courses. So it was kind of the middle class agrarian way for people to get their high school diploma who maybe didn't have that opportunity to be in a school. So, with that, the education pillar is, it's a very important part of what Chautauqua is. And in all the pillars, we're all on equal footings. That's what we tell ourselves. But
I won't tell Charlie. Oh, Charlie's on the call. Darn it.
So that's just kind of a brief overview of the education pillar.
That's really interesting, John. And as you were talking about the CLSC, I've heard people say that it's like the original distance learning program, which we're all too familiar with now.
That's right.
That style of learning was relevant then. It's relevant now, and so much of what's been part of our mission since 1873 is still so important today. And I think the lineup of programming that you have for the summer is a good example of that. And I think we're all kind of familiar with the Chautauqua Lecture Series, maybe as a pivotal part of the programming, but you've got a big list of things going on in the education pillar. Could you give us just an overview, some of the highlights of what you do in education?
Sure. Yeah, sure thing. There may be a perception that in the education pillar, it's the lecture series, and the lecture series is kind of the keystone of the education pillar. I mean, there's, for instance, this upcoming summer, there's 14 weeks and 14 different themes. But also within the education pillar, like for instance, the keynote series. And some of these I may run through relatively quickly, and then later on maybe get a little bit more detail. But the keynote series is a big deal for this upcoming summer. It's mostly every Tuesday evening, there'll be a different speaker in Hoover. And these individuals has wide-ranging talents, and they will be coming oh, no, I just lost my train of thought. But wide range of talents, and they have excelled in the topic that they'll be talking about. So it's pretty exciting for a kind of a Tuesday evening, which in education I didn't really have anything on a Tuesday evening. So Shirley was nice enough to let me borrow Hoover for that night. So we'll be having something very interesting going on. Weekly trivia. In the summer, as myself on Walnut Plaza at 5:30, and I'm still amazed at how many people come for trivia on a summer evening. I mean, I'm still shocked. It's wonderful to see. But the fun hasn't ended. I still have trivia every Monday, only it's at 5 o'clock. And I'm using the space that had been Slack House. That room I've been using every Monday. So, you know, if you're in the area and you want to, you know, test yourself on your whatever the topic may be, you know, stop on by.
Dawn,
And
can I warn them that there might be trivia coming up at the end of the program? So if anything stands out as a fun fact, maybe write it down.
that, thank you very much, Hannah. That's
But
right.
don't
There
tell
may
Dawn I
be
told you that.
there may be a pop quiz, so to speak, at the end. And then, well, also new for this summer is a author and writer series. It'll be on Mondays, 1:30 in the Agler Room. And the previous few years, I had a week dedicated to authors and writers. And as with all themed weeks, people who would come at other times of the year were like, I wish that was the week that I was here. And it got me thinking. I was like, well, I could make this a series and spread it out over the whole summer. And maybe instead of having 5 authors or 6 authors, I could have 14. And so that's kind of what I'm going with. It's a pilot program, if you will. And so each session, it's the different author, and the author or writer who may be talking about their works. They could be doing a workshop on maybe poetry or resume writing, or maybe it's middle school graphic art design. It's kind of all over the place a little bit, but it's intended to be that way because authors and writers really are all over the place. There's a lot of content. So I'm hoping it turns out well. I hope people enjoy it. Science Rocks, it's a youth science series. Be talking a little bit more about that, later on, but this will be its 3rd season, and it seems to be a favorite. It seems to be a favorite, so that we'll keep that going. The Ohio Sea Grant and the Environmental Series. This program will be on Tuesdays at 1:30, and it'll be either at the West Pavilion deck or it'll be at Orchestra Hall. And the reason why it's at either one is the Ohio Sea Grant series is through Ohio State University. So these are professors at Ohio State who are coming and leading a session, and it can be anything from mayflies to the Lake Erie water snake to microplastics that are in our Great Lakes. It kind of runs the gamut, and those are a little bit more hands-on series. So they're at the West Pavilion deck. And then the environmental series, those are more dedicated lectures. So they're at Orchestra Hall, and the calendar of events, it'll distinguish between, one or the other. And that's for the environmental series. They have a speaker who's talking about, like wind turbines in Lake Erie, or what can a person do to get themselves to net zero, or maybe their home or cottage. What can they do to their cottage to have no carbon footprint? So these should be good series as well, and I'm hoping, and hopefully people find them very interesting. Another program, I know I just keep rambling out with programs, but these all fall under the education umbrella. Historic portrayals. This is I think, because I'm a history nerd, a really cool sessions. They'll be in Hoover, and these portrayals will be of people who were here in Lakeside. They were the keynotes of their day. So individuals like Susan B. Anthony, Marian Anderson, Billy Sunday, Amelia Earhart, and there's others. They will essentially take the stage again and as a person in their time and give a presentation. I'm really looking forward to it. It should be very, very interesting. Dorothy Fulheim, for instance, she spoke here at Lakeside, oh goodness, maybe 6 or 7 times. So, I mean, and she was definitely regional. People will remember as a regional, individual on WEWS Cleveland, but she had a very deep journalistic history. So that looking forward to it. The Get Growing program and Ask the Gardener. Those programs, they're run by Lakeside's own master gardener, Loretta Wilkin. And those programs, they're doing what the title intent is, and they keep growing. So, it's different sessions for, how the better way to do plant, maybe it's how to make a rain barrel, or composting. It's a whole wide range. So, and Ask the Gardener, Loretta's always typically up at the farmer's market and just asking her questions. What do I have to do so that my hydrangeas bloom? My hydrangeas haven't bloomed in 3 years. What's going on? And she can definitely give you information. I know she has for me. The weekly wellness lectures, those are every Friday at the Wellness Center. And Cuddling Dormatorfi, Lakeside's own director of recreation, she finds the speakers. I'm very fortunate that she has those inroads with different wellness instructors, and she finds the speakers, and then I run the program. So I'm very fortunate that she has been able to find some quality speakers in wellness. And it is wide ranging too. It's maybe different individuals from Magruder Hospital in Port Clinton, or it can be individual talking about different types of yoga, qigong. It's a wide range program. Keeps it interesting, keeps it lively. And World Affair Forum, the forum, that's on Fridays as well, 3:30 to about 5 o'clock. And it is one of the more unique programs. It's been going on, oh goodness, 20 plus years. And it's a time where individuals can, take their worldly experiences, and really, to be a part of the forum, all you have to do is keep up on national events, whether it's reading different publications, world news, and then coming to the forum. And so, what topics interest you? What is something going on in the Ukraine, for instance? That you want to throw a topic out and then talk about it. And there's a lively discussion, and it is a really good program. I think it's a type of learning that sometimes has been lost. They don't really find forums around so much anymore. So it's a great program to have.
Hey, John.
Yes.
I was wondering if there's so much education programming and a little piece of something for everybody. I love when you talk about the World Affairs Forum versus the environmental program, the authors program. There's an area of interest for everyone. There are a couple items I think are on our list that we might be able to circle back to, but I want to maybe jump to our special guest, our first special guest, if that's okay.
That's fine. That's fine, because I'll keep droning on.
No, I'm sucked into it. I could just listen to you talk about this education programming all day. So, John, I was wondering if you could just tell us just a little bit of background first about the Rhine Center, and then we'll jump over to our guest here.
Oh, of course. The Rhine, well, I don't want to steal Jennifer's thunder, but the Rhine Center, I want to say it's his 25th season or 26th season with at Lakeside. But it's
I'll correct you after.
Okay, but it's definitely a place where a person can go and they can do hands-on art from something as almost as simple, if you will, as a painted rock up to stained glass. It's a very, it really is an amazing place to have here at Lakeside. But I did not do it any justice. So take it away, Jennifer.
Yes. So Jennifer Wirtz is our Rhine Center manager, another just huge blessing to the team. And I won't steal too much of her thunder either. But Jennifer, do you want to tell us a little bit about your background at Lakeside and kind of what brought you here?
Sure. I'd be delighted to. Hi, everybody. I think I first came to Lakeside when I was 11 years old. It was a Sunday drive back when people used to do that kind of thing. And my parents had been to Lakeside as children. And I guess both sets of my grandparents had been to Lakeside on and off. I think at one time there had been a cottage in the family, but and so we ended up, some people have said that when we bought it, it's interesting. I just said to John, I said, it's interesting. We bought in 73, which was the 100th anniversary. And here I am now working at Lakeside for the 150th. So that's kind of cool. I moved around a lot. Just about every year I grew up, we were moving. We were not a military family. Everyone always asked that. It was more like my father was just kind of trying to search for himself. And my mother was very amenable to moving all across the country. So I got a lot of cool experiences. And but Lakeside was home. We ended up buying a cottage in 73 and unfortunately sold it about 10 years later. But it was always, even then I even got married in Lakeside, and it's just despite all the moves, it has always been a central focus to my life. So I adore Lakeside, and when I learned that Michael Schertz was working for Lakeside, I had said to him, "Oh my gosh, Michael, I don't know if you know of my background with Lakeside. I would love, love, love to work for Lakeside. And so if there's ever an opening, let me know." And lo and behold, there was an opening, and I was able to get in. So I first started in 2019 as the program department admin assistant and special project coordinator, which meant that I was helping run Orchestra Hall and the art and craft show, and let's see, the art show. And Hannah, our lovely Hannah hosting today, was our intern at the time. And so then fast forward when Michelle left and was no longer going to be operating and managing the Rhine Center, I then jumped in and did that. My background is in fine art and theater. And so I'm thrilled to be running the Rhine Center. And so that's kind of what brings me here today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jennifer in 2019 was stuck with me.
Yes, I would hardly call it being stuck, but we made a good team, I think. So yes.
Jennifer's just one of the most creative people I know. If you haven't seen some of the artwork that she did, the mural in the Slack House was done by Jennifer. So she's just such a gift. Jennifer, so okay, now we have to get the record straight. What year is it for the Rhine Center?
It's actually the 24th year. So next year will be our 25th. And what I'm hoping to do is put together, I'm hoping I'll put this word out now. It's the first time I've made it like a public announcement, but I'm hoping for our 25th to put together like some places will put together cookbooks. I'm hoping to put together a craft book that we can then use as a fundraiser for the Rhine Center. So yeah, next year will be our 25th. And the Rhine Center, for those of you who don't know, the Rhine Center started in 1999 as primarily as a youth center. It was, and they added some crafts to it. And then I think the popularity of that, people were like, well, why did just the teens get to do the crafts? Why can't my little kids do the crafts? Or why can't I do the crafts? Or why can't my grandparents do the crafts? So it built into what it is today, which is the Rhine Center for the Living Arts is the proper name, or that's the Kirk, the C. Kirk Rhine Junior Center for the Living Arts. And it's named as such because the Rhine family, after their son Kirk died in a plane crash, they donated money to transform the Epworth Lodge, which the building technically is called the Epworth Lodge, transform the Epworth Lodge into this a center where, and again, like I said, it started more for teens, but then it's since expanded. We have we'll have about 75 teachers teaching this year for us. We will be offering upwards of 40 classes a day in our prime season. We serve usually in pre-COVID, they were serving almost up to 10,000 a day, or today, excuse me, 10,000 a summer. Sometimes it feels like 10,000 a day, but it's 10,000 over the summer. But we'll probably, if we can reach around 8,000, that'll be fantastic. So it's a variety of, like John alluded to, it's a variety of classes from kids, what I call kids art camp kind of crafts to all the way up to, more fine, learning the, fine art of oil painting or watercolor painting, and all kinds of little interesting oddball things in between, like the art of magic, or the art of magic, or boomerang, making boomerangs, or the art of bubbles, or so we have a variety of cool things. New this year, we're going to have a tap dance class for kids. We've got Jan Foy, one of our very favorite returning instructors, is going to be doing this really cool water can wind chime and a Tin Man wind chime. We've got kites, making kites, crochet bunny, a nature walk, where the nature walk ends with you doing kind of a craft that helps de-stress and de-stress you with just the beauty of the nature and kind of looking inward. And then we have a very cool opportunity with one of our visiting artists. Linda Zoltan Wood is going to be doing getting the kids prepared for the 4th of July parade. And so you can come there and you can help decorate your parade, parade float, or your bike, or that kind of thing. And then also too, in honor of the 150th, I've been tasked with helping create some murals around the community. Murals is probably the wrong term. It should be called panels, painted panels. And our intern's going to be helping create that. Linda Zoltan Woods also, like I said, one of our artists in residence, is going to be doing that as well. So kids can get involved, families can get involved in creating art that hopefully will become a permanent fixture at Lakeside. We also have we're going to be reintroducing some evening classes on Mondays. We're going to continue Open Studio, which is where you don't have to register for a class. You can just come in and buy an object to paint or decorate. At the same time, we might have a few little drop-in classes that, again, you don't have to register for. That's on Saturdays from 10 to 1. And then we're also going to, early on in the season, we'll have that Open Studio on Friday afternoons. Let's see what else. Open Studio. Some of the things that are returning, but that we're expanding upon, is Scrimshaw. We're going to have ceramics every day. We'll have glass classes, both stained and fused, every day, or I should say, just about every day. So we've got a lot of exciting things coming up, and certainly hoping that all of you will be partaking it, you and your family. Oh, I probably should add that we're going to do something new this year, that we're going to open up all the classes for registration on May 15th, as opposed to having to scramble and everyone try to register for them on the Thursday prior to the week. So that's something new. So get ready on May 15th to see all the classes pop up and start registering for the classes.
I need to do that. I need to register now, because I always get to July and every year I'm like, I'm going to take a class at the Rhine Center, and then too busy and I miss it. I miss my chance. But I'm always amazed with the list of classes that you offer through the Rhine Center, and how many of the things I have to look up to even figure out what they are. Like Scrimshaw. I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. Well, that's Scrimshaw, for those who don't know, that's where you're carving on, well, it used to be whalebone. Now they use a polymer kind of resin, but it used to be whalebone, and then you would ink it, and that's where you get this etched look on bone.
Wow.
Yes, that's Scrimshaw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are lots of opportunities. I'm just curious, a question for the audience, if you want to type your answer into the chat. What classes have you taken at the Rhine Center that you enjoyed, or maybe a grandkid or a family member, friend, something that stands out that's impacted you? And while you're doing that, Thank you so much, Jennifer. It's so fun to talk about the Rhine Center and get your creativity flowing. I'm really excited.
Absolutely.
summer.
Like I said, we've got some really cool, John and I are actually going to uh, work together on bringing in some artists and residents who will be doing some speaking and some artist talk in conjunction with doing some classes at the Rhine Center. So I'm really eager to and excited to see that collaboration develop.
Yes. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Don, you'll have to let me know when our second special guest is on. If you see him, we can jump to him next.
Yeah, I believe I do see the name Thomas on, so
Perfect.
yeah.
Yes, I'm on, John.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, sweet. Oh,
We'll go ahead
hey,
and
Thomas.
jump to talk about another one of the amazing programs through education. John, if you want to set us up and tell us and introduce our guest.
Of course. Thomas Nahas. Tom he's a teacher at Danbury High, and this would be the third year, I believe, that he's been running Science Rocks. Well, it is a third year because this is my third year. When I started, I was looking at the schedule, and I was like, you know what, we seem to be missing hands-on science courses for youth. So it was a chance meeting. Cuddling, our director of rec, she had run into Thomas when they were fishing off the pier, and she was like, you know, John, you really ought to reach out to this Mr. DeHaas, because he's very good with kids and maybe there's something there. And well, lo and behold, there was something there. So but with that, take it away, Thomas.
Hi, everybody. So first of all, I'll say sorry, I'm in my car here. I pulled over to park to present, but just taking our dog to the vet today. John's got a little presentation here just from me. I put it together this week and stuff, and now it's gonna be good for us to go over because I wasn't sure I was gonna make it. So yeah, real quick. I mean, basically, I've been working with Danbury. I teach 5th and 6th grade, or now just 6th grade math and science at Danbury. But I've been doing that for the past 8 years. And so as part of that science programming, I've worked with Lakeside, Ohio Sea Grant, OSU Stone Lab. And we come down and we fish at Lakeside each fall as part of our program and they get ready to go to Stone Lab. I think that's probably where I met Cotlin and things like that and kind of got involved that way. But so for the last, this is year 3, John, I think you're right. We've been doing Science Rocks. It's been a great program. I really enjoyed it. I say I'm incredibly lucky to be able to teach at Danbury and be right up here on the lake on the water. But doing Science Rocks kind of gets me involved and keeps me busy in the summer, at least one day a week to still work with kids. And it's really neat to be able to see all those people that come to Lakeside from all over the country. So I just put together a brief little presentation. Basically, what you see in front of you here is just like a sample presentation of one of the lessons that I teach called Alien Invasion, which talks about invasive species in our lake. You see I use a lot of pictures and diagrams and some short videos and things. I usually bring a TV with me. Some of you may have been in my sessions before in the past, but in this particular session, we talk about like the round goby and kind of their effect on Lake Erie, in addition to some other popular invasive species. And then we actually get to wrap that lesson up with doing some fishing off the dock. So primarily that's, most time we have a wide range of people in attendance, but generally anywhere from the ages of just a couple years old all the way up to some of our seniors. So throughout all of my lessons, I really try and keep it hands-on and focused. This lesson that John moved to the next slide is actually one that I was going to develop for this year. It's called Light and Sound Energy. And so it will kind of be a brief overview of how light and sound kind of are in our world and kind of how we see that. And it's really geared towards mostly kid level, doing some different hands-on activities with refraction and reflection and things like that. And if you go to the next slide there, John. Some of the other sessions that I have run over the past couple of years have been Christmas in July. So we make snow with Insta Snow. It's a type of polymer. So it's kind of neat. We do that right around July 25th usually. And to see the kids' reactions and adults. Basically, you have this tiny little bit of powder. It looks like maybe, it's literally about 10 milliliters worth You mix it with about 100 milliliters of water, but it fills up an entire bowl with this white powder. And it's actually the same kind of thing that they use a lot now in Hollywood to make snow for TV sets. But so watching kids' faces when we do that one's pretty neat. We make ice cream and talk about playing with states of matter. So we put ice cream in bags and make the ice cream. We focus on Lake Erie and kind of environmental the environmental conditions we have around us with doing some atmosphere monitoring and soil monitoring with Globe. We do some activities about how well we know the Great Lakes. You can see some other ones there. We talk about watersheds, and we use a hydro lab from Ohio Sea Grant and the EPA to take some water samples, or water quality samples. Some other new ones that I'm looking at doing this year with John. I've been involved this past year with NASA Aaron Terra Rover project through Danbury. So we have a little remote controlled rover that takes surface temperature measurements. It has a GoPro and things on it, which might be kind of neat. Let some people drive it around and kind of talk about how we could look at like urban heat island effect, and basically the idea that certain landscapes, whether it's cities versus rural areas versus kind of like our areas on the lake, how those parts of the world trap heat and kind of affect like some of our global warming processes and things that are going on. And I think the next slide, I just have a couple of pictures. So you can see a lot of what we do is hands-on. This is actually mostly my students from school. I find I can't really ever take pictures when I'm at Lakeside because I'm pretty busy. It's been great. I mean, I think last year when we did our ice cream session, I think we had over 100 people there making ice cream, which is an amazing opportunity. And just seeing, the joy on everybody's faces, especially the kids, it's really neat. John, is there anything else you want me to share kind of about our program?
I don't think so, Thomas. I think you encapsulated in everything that makes that program great. So I can't thank you enough for the amount of work and time you put into creating this quality program. So thank you.
John, can adults make ice cream?
Yeah. No, we did. I think, like I said, I think there was probably like close to 80 kids there last year, and some of the parents made ice cream too. My wife actually came along. I roped her in to help me out. So she helped fill bags of ice the entire time. We had a little assembly line going last year. If you were able to be there, you probably saw us doing that. But absolutely, I think this year we might have to buy enough supplies to have over for 100 people. So yeah, but it's a lot of fun.
You're gonna put the patio out of business.
I know. One day.
No, I mean, just from the pictures that I've seen, I've never had the chance to see Science Rocks hands-on, but now I want to go down and make ice cream. But it's such a unique opportunity for children and parents alike to get the hands-on experience right on the lake and learn all these amazing things. So thank you so much for your partnership with Lakeside and providing this program. Again, see, there are so many people who make all of this education programming happen. So thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I'm probably gonna hop off, guys, just so I can keep driving. Sorry, we're taking this guy to the vet, so he's doing good, but he's trying to get in the camera the whole time. So, but thank you guys for all you do. I really enjoyed working with the program at Lakeside.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, and we're gonna jump back in. John, I've got some more questions for you. You're not off the hook.
Okay.
The first thing that I wanted to talk a little bit more about is the Chautauqua lecture series. I'll pull up the themes here quickly. And I was wondering if you might be able to, oh, I didn't show this picture. This is John and his wife, Emily, and their boat. I just love that. That's one of my favorites. Okay, but the Chautauqua lecture series themes. Are there a couple that you could just point out that are coming up this year that you're really excited about?
Oh, goodness. Well, yeah, definitely. 14 different themes. And well, first off, sometimes people wonder, like, John, how do you pick these themes? I mean, who's making these choices? And the short answer is Lakesiders, because, and I say that because during the summer, Lakesiders, whether I see it's on the street or after a lecture, they'll say, John, I took in this series or this lecture on this certain speaker, and I think they would play well here in Lakeside, or they really know their content, or have you ever thought about this? And every conversation, I'm in my mind, I'm taking notes, and my roster of potential future themes is getting longer and longer.
Mhm.
So it really is like the Lakesiders that help with these lists. And now then it's like, okay, how are we going to make this fit? How are we going to it's like a big puzzle, frankly, trying to get all this together. But some of the ones that I'm kind of looking forward to that have played well, if you will, the the Chagrin Documentary Film Festival. Lakeside has had documentary weeks, in the past, which went very well. And last year, Jeannie Fleming Gifford was like, "Have you ever heard of Chagrin Documentary Film Festival?" And I'm like, "No." And they are an amazing group to collaborate with, and they have their finger on the pulse, if you will, of documentary filmmakers. And they've been able to pull in all these documentaries where they're all different lengths. Some play for 2 minutes and some play for an hour. So the ones that are short, there'll be multiple, together to make an hour session. But they're all quality. I mean, it's been a great collaborative partnership, if you will. And I know last season there was at least 2 different families that were like, John, this was our favorite week of all your theme weeks. And so it was almost seemed like a no-brainer not to go with them again for this upcoming summer. Another theme I'm looking forward to is Civil War week. That week has a history with Lakeside. Oh goodness, I think it went for like a 12-year run. And with this upcoming being Lakeside sesquicentennial, it almost seemed fitting to bring Civil War week back. For one, it's a fan favorite, if you will. And also the Chautauqua experience in some ways came out of the Civil War. The Civil War, you had the breaking apart of the nation. And then some of the ideas of Chautauqua is to bring people back together. So it seemed like it made perfect sense to have Civil War week. And I have a good lineup, at least I believe so, I think so, for that week. Last year, I had comic strips and political cartoons. People really enjoyed it. So for this year, I made a little bit of a change. It's comic strips and animation. And so one of the speakers for that week is Tom Baddock. And Tom is the creator of Funky Winkerbean and Crankshaft. So I had planned to have him for last season, and then things went awry. Well, for this upcoming year, he'll be with us on site. So I'm really looking forward to hearing Mr. Baddock's presentation. Jazz Week last year was very popular. It was something a little different. And so I was like, we'll be, working with Michael Schertz. He's coordinating the speakers and, the talent. But at the same time, we were also listening to Lakesiders who were like, John, too much of something of a good thing is almost a little bit too much. So it's like, okay, let's back it down a little bit. So instead of a full week of full, programming sun up to sundown of jazz, it'll be 3 days instead of 5. So it's just not, if you have a person that's here or a family that really has no interest in jazz, the whole week is a little bit too much. So we're believe me, we're listening. We're listening. Some of the other weeks I'm looking forward to is Architecture Week. One of the speakers, Andy Clemmer, he is the CEO of a firm in New York, and their firm designed the glass pavilion at the Toledo Museum of Art. So I think that should be, I'm again looking very forward to that. I think that'll be a very interesting session. Another week that I'm looking forward to is it's titled Home and Immigration. You know, immigration is, well, for one, it's probably how your family or yourself made it to this country. But then what is the state of it currently in our own time? So, you know, I have some different speakers that are coming, and, you know, they'll give the history of immigration to the United States. They'll talk about like refugees in different countries. And then also, you know, what is the United States policies, and are they working? Are they not working? And so that should be it should be a good week. A lot of good content, a lot of good substance.
I wish we could I've had the privilege of reading about some of the amazing speakers you have coming in. So if you haven't had the chance, go check out the Lakeside website and read a little bit more about some of them. But within each week, there's just so much to learn. So John, you've done a really good job putting this all together. I'm going to go ahead and move on to our next slide. Well, maybe I will. About our keynote speaker series. This is a new kind of series this summer, and we have a great lineup. You kind of referenced it earlier on Tuesday evenings at Hoover Auditorium. But could you maybe point out a couple of these keynote speakers that you're excited about too?
Well, I know when this idea started, I said to Jeannie, I was like, Jeannie, I want an astronaut. I mean, in my mind, and maybe it's my juvenile self, but you know, those individuals, they have to be extremely smart, and they also have to have like nerves of steel. So we have, Kathy Sullivan coming during the July 4th weekend or week. And she was the first female astronaut to work on the Hubble telescope. And then on the flip side, not in space, but she's been to the deepest part of the ocean in the Pacific. So, I mean, just a really interesting person. So I think she will dazzle, I hope is the right word, dazzle the Lakeside crowd with her knowledge. Some of the other, Jamar Tisby, author, historian, should be fascinating. Adam Met, a writer, also director of Sustainable Partners. And then also it just so happens that him and his brothers have a very popular rock band.
John, I'm going to piggyback off of you on that one, that if you have friends, family, kids about my age, AJR is huge. So I think he's a great addition to the lineup for this summer. AJR is really popular. And then on top of that, he has a PhD in human rights law, I believe, and runs a nonprofit organization around sustainability. So I think that'll be a really great program to go to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, each one of them is a different facet, and I couldn't be more happy. I really hope that there's good crowds in Hoover, and that it's something that people really take from this summer, this season, that wow, this is really neat. I hope they do it again in 2024. So we'll see.
And you can read more about some of these speakers on the Lakeside website as well. Sort of in the interest of time, I'm gonna pull out one more topic, John. Field trips. There are 4 field trips planned for this summer.
There are.
Could you tell us about those?
Yes. During Archaeology Week, we'll have a tour of the Johnson's Island Confederate Prison Camp. And, for my own self, I thought that piece of property had been developed decades ago, but it hasn't. There's still portions of it that haven't been developed, and the different digs that they have done on that site. So, we'll go and we'll see the site, and then also the cemetery. During Celebrate Ohio Week, we'll have a field trip to the Toledo Museum of Art. And all these field trips will have a docent from, those different institutions that will lead the group. But Toledo Museum of Art is a fabulous institution that is only an hour away. So they'll be showing kind of the highlights of their collection, and then also the Glass Pavilion, which has been around, maybe 10 years or so. During Great Lakes Week, we'll be going to the Liberty Aviation Museum. And if what I just said doesn't make sense, Great Lakes Week and aviation, it's because that at that museum, they are restoring a World War II PT boat. And once it's restored, it will be giving rides out on Lake Erie. But the current status of the boat, you'll be able to go and see what goes into restoring a historic craft. And right now, you can look right through the hull. It's all the ribs, the stringers, everything is in view. So, and you can hopefully talk to some of the master craftsmen that are working on it. And then a field trip to a stone lab on Gibraltar Island. And if you don't know, Gibraltar is between South Bass and Middle Bass. And that's where Ohio State has their stone lab. And it's a tour there to see, what they do there. And so it should be a very good tour.
Mm-hmm. Well, as you're talking, I'm like marking these down that I have to make sure I can get them on my calendar too. There's so much going on in education that I don't want to miss. And I hope that all of you kind of feel the same way after this this program. I know there's even more.
There's just one last thing. I know we're running very short on time, but one last thing I want to put a plug in for is during the Wooden Boat Show, during that weekend, that Friday to Sunday on the hotel lawn, the Sandusky Maritime Museum will have it's kind of a mini museum. It'll be parts of their main museum in Sandusky on the lawn under our 60 by 40 tent. So it'll be a great time to, take in what they have, their collection. And then also they have it's a life-size the Battleship game that we use, Parker Brothers, I think it is. However, instead of sinking a battleship, it's sink my frigate. So it's set to the War of 1812. So hopefully we have great weather. I only hope for good weather, but I think that'll be a great addition.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, yes, that's great. Real quick, so if you want to stick around, wait 2 more minutes and then we'll get started on trivia, but I know you all have a busy afternoon planned, and I'm glad that you took an hour out of your day to spend some time with us. The next Lakeside Online program is Finding Our Way Through the Arts with Michael Schertz and Dr. DeForia Lane. That's coming up on March 30th. And that's sort of a preview for their program in May. So if you haven't, sign up for that and check that out. We have one more Power of the Pillar program coming up April 23rd with Kathleen Damatorfi, talking about recreation. So you won't want to miss that either. And then Behind the Curtain program, talking about 150 years at Michigan's oldest theater, the Croswell Theater, on April 20th. That's a Thursday evening. We also have one more book discussion. So this kind of ties in. If you're interested in coming to hear Dr. Robert Putnam this summer, jump on this book discussion and read his latest work, The Upswing, and talk about that. I think that's all. We'll go ahead and send out a survey in a little bit, so you can let us know a little bit about your experience with this program and some things you're looking forward to that maybe we could offer in the future. So with that, I'll say have a great day. And if you want to stick on for 1 more minute, I'm going to pull up slides to do trivia. So we hope you stay. Okay, John, over to you for trivia.
All righty. Well, what I ask when we're playing trivia is, use the information that's in your mind. Don't be using Google or well, typically listening to other teams either. So question number 1. Which of the following theme weeks will not be covered in 2023? A, Civil War, B, Architecture, C, Espionage, or D, Immigration?
And if you want to drop your answer in the chat.
Yeah,
We'll take a look.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like we have a consensus.
And I flip the slide.
Yep, have at it.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Espionage.
But that
Right.
sounds like a good title.
Well, actually, it's in my roster for 2024 is
Okay.
Espionage. So, but number 2, which former astronaut will be a keynote speaker during Exploring New Horizons NASA Week? A, Buzz Aldrin, B, Sally Ride, C, Jim Lovell, or D, Kathy Sullivan? Oh, this is great to see. People, this is good. All right. Question 3. Which maritime organization will have an exhibit on the Hotel Lakeside lawn the weekend of the Wooden Boat Show? A, the Detroit Maritime Museum, B, the Sandusky Maritime Museum, C, Lyman Boat Works, or D, the National Museum of the Great Lakes?
These folks are paying attention, John.
They're paying attention. This is good stuff.
That is right. It's B.
Okay, which new series will be held on Monday afternoons in the Igloo Room? A, Authors and Writing, B, Environment Around Us, C, Leadership 101, or D, Birds of the Sky? Perfect.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right, last question. And what field trips have been planned for next season? A, Johnson's Island Prison Camp, B, Stone Lab, C, Toledo Museum of Art, or D, all the above?
Mm-hmm.
Good
Can I ask the
news.
bonus question? There's one that's not on this list. Does anybody know what the 4th one is? Ah, Shirley, the Aviation Museum.
Aviation Museum.
Awesome. Oop. Okay, that's all we've got. And as your prize, you all win bragging rights to go tell your friends and family. Free prime seating at an education program this summer. All right, thank you again so much for spending a bit of your afternoon with us. We're excited for this summer. I think it's 61 days until Memorial Day weekend, so we're getting there. We're ready for it. So see you all soon. Thank you.
Great, thank you, everyone.